So, we need to talk about roles, what roles are, what they do, why they're important. So before you think about the character you want to get good with, you need to understand the role that best suits you and your playstyle. Most people want to be DPS because it looks flashy and gets a lot of elims, but Marvel Rivals isn't about who gets the most elims in a certain amount of time. It's about who is better at completing objectives. That is how you win more matches and climb ranks. There is no point in getting 50 eliminations if you lose the match. So, the tanks, otherwise known as vanguards, this role is for players who want to be in the action. You're normally the front line of your team, relying on good healers to keep you alive, while creating space for your team to push forward. All tanks have some sort of damage blocking ability, which is more times than not their main purpose. Creating space and blocking damage is your goal. Block pathways as Groot, block ults or line of fire with Doctor Strange, or just be annoying to the enemy team as a Penny. Your team needs you, and they need you alive. Without good tanks on your team, you have no way of creating space to get closer to the objective or helping your team stay alive while blocking incoming damage. Tanks should also be protecting their team and their supports if they are being targeted. So you are the front line, but you do have to pay attention to the way your team is. For most tanks, we'll get into probably off tanks and all that kind of stuff in the Diamond video. So your supports, healers, aka strategists. This role is for players who like winning, while not trying to be flashy. Your main purpose is to keep your team alive, especially your tanks and other healers. Because at the end of the day, it's hard to win a fight if your team keeps dying over and over again. Oftentimes, you are the team captain, you call the shots. If your team is behind you, wait for them. If your tank keeps pushing and blowing up within seconds, tell them to fall back. A team cannot win any fight if they can't stay alive. You are arguably the most important role on your team, but with that power comes the enemy team targeting you, like a lot. So keep your team alive and be sure to check your back. And then everyone's favorite for most people, the DPS, the Duelist. This rule is for players who like being flashy and looking at high numbers on a scoreboard. Or maybe you just like playing Call of Duty in your free time. Either way, your main purpose is to, well, deal damage. Some Duelists are better at flanking behind the enemy team and taking out their supports, while most Duelists should focus on dealing damage to the enemy team or finish off players with low health. After all, you can't win a fight if the enemy team doesn't take any damage. But remember, play your objective. This is more important than how many eliminations you got. Your team can have a total of 20 elims and still win. Okay? So, something I see a lot, especially from streamers, is they can have like a 60 elimination Spider-Man game with like 5 deaths, and they still lose the match, and then they're like, wow, my team sucks, or I carried you guys and we still lost. And then you check their footage, and it's like, you didn't touch the objective like one time, you didn't stall the objective, you didn't like clear off enemies off the objective. All you did was take out like the same 2 characters the entire time and not actually provide value for your team. So just do keep that in mind. People think they're carrying, but they're actually kind of throwing, to be honest. Yes, killing the enemy team is good, whittle down their numbers. But again, the objective is the most important thing to winning. If you're not contesting the objective, you're not going to win at all, ever. And you can't just rely on your entire team to do that for you, So, get used to that. And then there is technically like a 4th role that isn't official, but this is the flex role. Basically meaning you could just switch between roles. I have rules in there. Can I edit this live right now? I'm not going to do that right now. I'll fix that later. So this is the role I focus on personally. You can pick your character based on what the team is lacking. If you have 1 support, make it 2. Have no tanks, become a tank. Doing this will allow you to fill the gaps of your team. However, it comes with a downside. You will never master a role. You will be able to switch between roles effortlessly, which is great, but you won't know how to play each role perfectly. You are basically the babysitter of your team to try your best to get a win. So basically, the jack of all trades. Good at a lot of things, but the master of nothing kind of thing. So definitely try and pick a role you prefer rather than trying to cover all the bases, because you will be better at the end of the day if you have something specific that you can fine-tune to use specifically, rather than just trying to fill in the gaps. Having people to fill in the gaps is important, but it's just not as important. So try some characters in these roles to see what fits your playstyle better, and don't worry about characters yet. You're just trying to figure out what role you enjoy the most. And then you can figure out what characters in those classes you want to be good with. So, again, if you are a Vanguard, you are usually the front line of your team. You are in all of the fights. You're usually starting fights. You are just the front line. Everything is on you, basically. And then strategists are the ones that are healing you and setting up good plays and just trying to keep you alive or empower you in some way to help you perform better. And then the duelists are obviously people doing damage or they're flanking to go to the enemy backline and stuff like that. So just try and figure out around that what playstyle you prefer the most. Do you want to have more freedom as a duelist, someone like Psylocke or something, where you can just kind of flow around the map at your own pace and be able to get medkits and not really rely on your team at all? Or do you want to be a Vanguard, so you're in the fight all the time, Completely up to you. And that takes us into the